Hi, I'm Blake and welcome to my blog. So we are continuing to work on the terrace garden and we are getting into the salsa garden as well as starting to plant the rows of the Three Sisters crops. So for the salsa garden, I'm going to be utilizing these grow bags here, and the way that you use these grow bags is that you fill them up with whatever dirt you're going to use. I'm using compost with a little bit of green mixed in to help suppress some weeds. And then I'm just going to keep scooping and scooping. And then just the pressure of the dirt makes the bag take its shape, kind of like filling up a kiddie pool with water. And then so once I get all of those filled in, I'm also putting in a drip line system. I got that hooked into my main irrigation system. And then I'm going to put individual 1 or 2 drip heads in each of these different grow bags. And so in each grow bag, I am going to put about 4 pepper or tomatillo plants. And then I am going to put a couple tomato plants. My tomato plants didn't come out that well, though. It was actually because my pepper plants did so well that they crowded out my tomato seedlings. But I always end up planting way too many tomatoes anyway. I just need like a couple plants, and luckily I have about 4 surviving. So we're going to get this all topped off, and then I put in my tomato stakes. So these are some really nice ones that I got from gardeners.com or Gardener Supply. I'll put the link below, the proper ones. So they are like really nice powder coated, welded together, and they have lasted many years. They've lost their color, but they're just as sturdy as ever. And so I'm just going through all of my irrigation bits and bobs, trying to reuse as much hose as possible. I lost a couple different pieces as soon as water pressure got applied to them. They were so dry rotted that they just fell apart. So now that we have that all done, we can go ahead and do the fun part and get everything all planted. So I am going to sink the tomato down basically so that it only has its newest set of leaves sticking out. This will encourage a lot of root growth, and since these tomatoes are struggling, it will also help keep them upright, not blow over and break, and then really lose a lot of moisture and then probably completely die. But the peppers are looking great, so I'm going to have plenty of peppers. It will definitely be an opportunity to trade some fruits and vegetables with neighbors and people in the community, and maybe make a dent in that tomato deficit if I have any. But like I said, usually tomatoes I way overplant, and then it was just completely unnecessary. So with this salsa garden, I will not only be able to make salsa, but I'll be able to make a lot of different Cajun foods as well. A lot of them require a lot of peppers that you normally see in Native and Hispanic cooking. So we got that all ready to go, and now we're just going to give it a really good soaking. And when it comes to these irrigation systems, it's definitely something you got to keep an eye on and just keep experimenting with to make sure that everything is getting the right amount of water. So now that we have that all wrapped up, we are going to go around and make the holes for our Three Sisters planting. So with Three Sisters, you use corn, beans, and squash. And what this does is that they work together to all be able to grow a little bit better. The beans are nitrogen fixers, so they help replenish nitrogen in the soil, which is a very important nutrient for plants. The corn provides a living stake for the beans to grow onto, And then the squash at the bottom, which is a vine of itself, but a ground growing vine, will spread out and help suppress weeds. And squash also have these little tendrils that wrap around weeds and strangle them out, so they really quite actively help control the area that they're growing in. And this combination together allows you to make a lot of different fruits and really have a lot of nutrients that you've grown yourself. So I went around and I cut holes in the landscaping fabric, and then I'm going back and I am adding cardboard underneath that hole, and this is just another weed suppression tactic since I am doing this right on top of what was a lawn just the year before. There's going to be a lot of seeds in the ground that are still ripe and ready to just pop up whenever they get enough moisture. So doing this makes them kind of go, whenever they sprout up, they kind of are diverted off to one side or the other, and it gives the crops enough time to grow large enough to be able to outcompete the weeds. But then as you continue to water, that cardboard will break down and roots will have a much easier time working their way down around that cardboard than plants going up through it. So I'm also doing a little bit of a mound planting. I didn't do very big of a mound on each planting, and what this does is it helps water run away from the crown of the plants, which helps reduce mildew, fungus growth, and other bugs that would like kind of like a moist area to thrive around the base of the plant. So we got all of that planted, and for the last row, we are going to grab some Adam's needle or yucca, and then we are also going to save this poor little eastern prickly pear that I collected a long time ago, but there's some invasive English ivy trying to say that to 5 times fast. But anyway, the English ivy is trying to just smother this poor little bugger out. So I'm going to get about 5 yucca off of this mother plant here. And I am looking to make sure that it has a little bit of the rhizome or storage system left at the bottom of the yucca, because that is what is going to allow it to reroot and then grow and thrive for the next year and then continue to reproduce. So I'm grabbing some more compost from my compost pile and then mixing in some more preen to add to those piles where I'm going to plant the yucca. And so I'm going to do the same process I did with the corn and beans that you can see is starting to sprout up there now, and cutting these little holes evenly spaced apart. I'm going to put all of the yucca up here and then put the prickly pear on the very end. And the reason why I'm putting all of these closest to the driveway is because that's what's going to be hottest. There's going to be a heat island effect around the driveway. Prickly pear and the yucca, they're going to love that. The more cooler weather crops are not going to enjoy that near as much. A squash growing onto the concrete might make it, but it's probably going to get a little stunted. Whereas yucca leaning on the concrete or prickly pear, they're just going to love that extra heat. They're like a lizard soaking up heat. They'll just thrive. So they're usually found in a little bit more of the rocky areas. So yucca is super easy, and prickly pear are super easy to reproduce once you have a good cutting of them. Each of the little lobes of the prickly pear can be cut up, but if you're just starting out, I would probably say just take one lobe, stick it in the ground, and then you're going to be able to grow a whole new plant. The same thing with the yucca. You're just going to take that stalk, stick it in the ground, bury it, make sure you continue to water it, It's going to look really sad for a hot minute, but it's going to be fine. It's going to bounce back and will continue to grow. It might even be the next year that it bounces back, but don't stress out about it. As long as there's still a couple leaves left on it, that sucker will come back with a vengeance, and probably better in looking than the mother plant. They're one of those that really seems to go through a flush of growth after a disturbance. So we have all of the bog run done and the food production area. Next up will be wetland and carnivorous plant production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you again to Lemon Lot for letting us use their music. And if you want to submit music, submit it to blakesbogmusic@gmail.com.